Hello! As you can see, I'm wearing a festive party jacket and I have festive party hair. And what are we gonna do? We're gonna make a sweatshirt with our old friend, this simplicity pattern, S9240. Very nice. And with this sweatshirt, we're gonna be doing heat transfer vinyl. That's right. I'm gonna attempt not to burn myself. Will it be successful? Who knows? But I have a sparkly coat on, I've got big hair, and let's get to it. I think it's important to understand that fussing and cutting is part of the sewing process. That means trying to look not a fool when trying to figure out if the fabric you have and the idea you have is going to work with the scraps you do have. But I will say this, my goal is to use up most of, if not all, the fabric I currently have in my stash. This, to me, looks like it could have fit, and frankly did fit. When you see the end of the video, you'll understand. What no one tells you is that sewing is 70% of pinning and cutting and trying to make your patterns work with the fabric you have. No one ever tells you that. Also, based on this video, I really need to get a fabric cutting table, like really badly, because being on the floor is not fun, at least not at my age. I'm so creaky and old, everything's falling apart. That being said, it's also good to suss out the fabric you do have. In my case, this gray sweatshirt material, and see if patterns you have might fit and work with it. There's no point in throwing away scraps this big. Getting the layout sometimes can be critical, or sometimes, in this case, you're just happy to have the pieces come together. And, in my case also, just enough so that I can cut exactly enough. Cutting also takes a long time, people. A long time. Depinning for me is seeing how many pins I don't get on the floor. That being said, I get a lot of pins on the floor. During the depinning process, I also like to do all my markings with a water-soluble pen. As you can see here, I'm writing down front, back, any notations I need to on the fabric. Let's be honest, it's going to wash out. Water-soluble pens, look into them. So, this is all the heat transfer vinyl I have. As you can see, some of it is used, some of it is new, some of it's just random shapes. So now, I'm just arbitrarily cutting. I decided to go with 1/2 inch wide strips, and then I figured I'd cut down from there. Now, you don't have to get fancy heat transfer vinyl. I think I bought this from Amazon. It was cheap, it was on sale, it does what it needs to do. Now that I've cut every strip into 1/2 inch wide, I'm going to try cutting them down to 1 inch, just to make them look nice. Consistent, uniform, maybe. Now, as you can see, this is going to be quite the fussy process. Do I do it with my rotary cutter, like this? Or do I do it with scissors? Or do I just pray to some sort of weird fabric sewing god that it will just all magically get cut by itself? This looks like it's going to take a long time. Scissors also work, but again, long time. This is then when I remembered I have a guillotine cutter. I know, very French Revolution, very Marie Antoinette. But what it does mean is that I can start cutting everything down really quickly with the guillotine cutter. It has markings, I can just slice away and get almost everything to the size I need. That includes the heat transfer vinyl that is in weird shapes. I can cut those down to the width I need and then go from there. This is also one of those times where I put on some sort of long TV program and to sit and watch and chop. Sit and watch and chop. Basically, it was an evening of sitting and watching and chopping and texting, as you can see. Now, I'm not saying you need to have a guillotine cutter for this project. You can do the cutting of shapes for the heat transfer vinyl any way you like. I just want to use up as much as I possibly could of the scraps of heat transfer vinyl that I have. And it's now time to get things started. I'm using my Cricut heat press thing, which I love, to just sort of warm the fabric over. And with my little tiny heat transfer chunks ready to go, I'm going to start ironing these on. Now, I'm doing all my little heat transfer pieces in a random pattern. I don't want things bunching together, I just want it completely random. Random is also that I have a Dyson vacuum cleaner in the corner. Also, the dog is smelling the Dyson vacuum cleaner. I don't know why. You may notice that I am heat transfer vinyling these pieces to a cut-out pattern piece, not to the finished shirt, not to pre-cut or uncut fabric. I'm doing it to the pre-cut fabric, but not to the finished garment. You're also noticing that I'm putting a piece of cloth over top of the actual fabric I'm using, just so I don't burn anything, and if I do anything wrong, it sticks to the scrap fabric and not to the actual good garment fabric. God, there was a lot of talking of fabric there. Oh. This process, let me tell you, took a long time. Because I'm slightly anal about this, I want to make sure these heat transfer vinyl pieces were stuck to the shirt for, like, ever. So I went over and over and over, like 3 times on each piece of the garment. That means 3 times on the back, 3 times on the front, 3 times on the sleeves, all of it, just to make sure that these are going to be stuck down. I will say also, this was very hot and sweaty process. This is not something for the faint-hearted. If you get too hot, too bad. Also, I like to use the highest temperature on my Cricut press. Again, I like my heat transfer vinyl to stick really well. So, after all that pressing, here is part of the front of the shirt, or sweatshirt. I'm just going to add a few pieces here and there, see if everything's stuck down, and just go back where I need to. This was a long process. I cannot stress this enough. Being on the ground, cutting my pattern pieces out on cement, then cutting out all the little confetti bits, and now attaching those confetti bits to the actual shirt pieces. This was a long process. Also, again, I am doing this very randomly. I want it to look like one of those confetti guns you get on cruise ships when you're leaving. Bon voyage, here we go, party. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but there was a lot. A lot of pressing and a lot of heat transfer vinyl. Do I recommend this for everybody? Maybe. Should I recommend it for myself again? Probably. Be prepared for that if you're going to follow along and do this project. I will tell you right now, this was not an easy process. Holding the Cricut machine down, making sure it was hot enough, playing with the dog, and paying attention to some sort of weird 18th century costume drama I was watching on television. If you are wondering, I'm still working on the front panel of the sweatshirt. That's right, still working on the front panel. I still have the back, still have the sleeves to do. The one good thing is this is a raglan sweatshirt, so it does make construction a little bit easier, and there's less pieces, but oh my god, so tired. But I will say, I highly recommend this if this is some sort of project you want to do. It actually turns out to be really satisfying. After putting all those heat transfer vinyl confetti bits onto the shirt, front of the sweatshirt anyway, and the sleeves and the back, it's time to get sewing. That's right, finally I get to start sewing. If you're looking for a full construction video on how to make this sweatshirt, please see one of my previous videos where I do a leopard print version. somewhere in my playlists. Please go watch that, where I go more step by step. I will say, I was fairly smart in this planning process though. I made sure not to put any of the vinyls in the seam allowance, which happened to be 5/8 of an inch for this project. I didn't want to have to try to sew over plasticky vinyl things. And plus, I don't know how my serger would have taken it. Sergers are, by nature, rather temperamental, so anything that doesn't clog it up, I'm happy with. Now, I will say, and you probably noticed, I didn't do any heat transfer vinyl on the cuffs. Heat transfer vinyl will inhibit the stretch, because it's basically glued on, and I don't like my cuffs or my neckline inhibited. There you go, that's the word I'm looking for. So for me, I didn't want to do anything on the cuffs and make them look all like stodgy and gross. I will say hands down, for a sweatshirt pattern, this simplicity is great. Highly recommend. Great for beginners. 10 stars. Now, we have to peel. That's right. I've got to peel off about 500 of the heat transfer vinyl's plastic coating. You think I was done? Oh no. Time consuming? Yes. Did it take quite a while? Absolutely. Did I miss some? You bet your bippy I did. But, again, put on my 18th century costume drama, sat in front of the TV, and peeled. Peeled. Do I wish I had some press-on fingernails to do this with? Probably. It might have made it easier. This does take a while because you have to do it on the front, the back, and the sleeves. But, again, it is weirdly therapeutic. If you've had a bad day sewing, why not peel off the front hard stickers of the heat transfer vinyl? Anyone can do it. Give it to your children. Give it to your husband. Give it to your great Aunt Bertha, who you don't like very much. Now that we have everything sewn together, pressed on, and ready to go, I think it means it's time for a fashion show. What do you think? Let's go.
From outer space, I got Milky Way for blood, evolution in my veins. I'm gone, I've been far away, I'm illuminated now, make a move, start a waves. I've been dreaming about flying for a long time. I had a vision from the crazy water coastline. Artificially intelligent way, I'm your future, past and present, I'm a fine line, yeah.
Another sweatshirt with this simplicity pattern, S9240. Again, this pattern is great for beginners. I'm going to be using it over and over again because where I currently live is very cold. And frankly, who doesn't want a party sweatshirt? I will say this. I made the extra large size. I think next time I'll go down to the large, which makes me feel like a skinny legend. But you know, what can you do? Why am I going down to the large size? I didn't want it as boxy this time. I felt the extra large, particularly around this sweatshirt, not so much on the last one I made, just felt a little looser, a little oversized. I would like something a little more fitted this time. If you like my video, please let me know below. And if you follow me, even better, And until next time, happy sewing. Bye now.